Welcome to the Wife Stories YouTube channel. New video every day, and don't forget to subscribe. Here we go.
I'm not your toy. Her laughter rose from behind the half-closed bedroom door, a bright, breathy giggle that clearly wasn't meant for me. My pulse kicked up a notch as I pressed my palm flat against the doorframe, unsure whether to push it open or retreat. A single thought pounded through my skull. I'm not supposed to be hearing this. Yet there I stood, heart rate hammering, straining to catch every note of that easy, intimate laughter. That sound, delicate but charged, marked the first crack in my world. I didn't know then that this one moment would shatter everything I believed about my life, my marriage, and, inevitably, myself. I'm David Harper, and I was 38 when I learned what it feels like to lose your sense of who you are in a single, spiraling heartbeat. I'm not the type to eavesdrop, not the type to suspect hidden shadows behind closed doors. I used to trust. That day, trust died, because I heard her laugh for someone else. I stepped back before my wife, Ashley, noticed me. My hand was trembling. I had to shove it in my pocket so I wouldn't stare at it in shock like some spooked teenager. She walked out a moment later, flipping her light brown hair over one shoulder. A faint flush colored her cheeks, and she turned the corner so quickly that she nearly bumped into me. "Oh," she exclaimed, eyes widening. Then, almost too casually, "I didn't know you were home." Her voice was smooth, polite, as though we were neighbors exchanging small talk about the weather. But her laughter was still echoing in my head, and I saw how her eyes darted back toward the bedroom door. She pressed the doorknob, then let it click shut. Ashley was a marketing specialist in a downtown advertising agency, an ambitious, social woman with a persuasive smile. We'd been married for 10 years. We had a son, Joshua, who was turning 9 next month. Up until that moment outside my own bedroom door, I believed we were a normal family. I believed in her. In us. She cleared her throat. "You look pale. Did something happen at work?" I opened my mouth, but no words came. My mind went completely blank, because what the hell was I supposed to say? I might have just overheard my wife having a cozy, flirtatious phone call with someone who'd made her laugh like a schoolgirl. Or maybe I was jumping to conclusions. I've never been the jealous type. Still, that giggle felt too intimate for comfort. Finally, I forced a tight smile. "Yeah, just a lot of deadlines." "Sorry, you startled me." "Deadlines," she repeated, brightening. "You're always working too hard." She walked past me to the kitchen, leaving the faint scent of her perfume behind. My chest tightened as she moved away. If she was cheating, I had to know, no matter how much it might destroy me. But a part of me still hoped it was nothing. Hoped I was overreacting like a paranoid fool. 2 days later, I noticed how often she stepped outside to take calls, how she hovered over her phone during dinner. Then she started returning from the office later than usual. Work, she claimed, was piling up. Something about a new campaign launch. My journalistic instinct, I write feature pieces for websites and local magazines, told me something was off, but I hadn't confronted her yet. Confrontation isn't in my nature. I prefer facts. Proof. Our son, Josh, didn't seem to notice. 9-year-olds rarely pick up on subtle tension between parents, unless you fight openly, which we never did. I loved that kid more than life itself. I'd read him bedtime stories every night, The Little Prince being his favorite. We'd act out certain scenes, building an entire universe around that short novel. He had my dark hair, my facial structure, or so I'd always believed. But in those days, illusions were all I had. I didn't know how quickly illusions dissolve when real life hits. One night, I was in my home office, reviewing a draft for an article, when my phone vibrated. A message from my son, oddly enough. Josh rarely texted me, given we lived under the same roof. Maybe it was some new generation quirk. The message contained only a single link, no text, nothing else. The preview alone made my stomach tighten. It was a link to a video. There was a short note from him. "You have to see this. Before I clicked, my hands got clammy. Why would Josh send me a video so late? Curiosity, dread, confusion, everything tangled together. With a single tap, I opened it, expecting some random YouTube clip or maybe a silly meme. Instead, my eyes landed on an image that drove a spike through my chest. A woman with light brown hair was laughing against a white backdrop. As the camera zoomed in, I recognized that laugh. The same laugh from behind our bedroom door. Ashley. Her slender fingers were tangled in a young man's hair as they pressed into each other. He was tall, fit, shirtless, wearing only black jeans slung low around his hips. His arms circled her waist. My wife looked up at the camera with a seductive grin. I wanted to blink it away, pretend it was some random footage, an advertisement, anything other than evidence of her betrayal. But there she was, in a state of half-dressed intimacy, moaning something I couldn't quite make out. The audio was fuzzy, but enough to convey exactly what was happening. In that short, explicit clip, the camera's perspective changed. Someone else must have been filming. They were on a set of some kind, a photo shoot or a behind-the-scenes session. The background was white, artificially lit, typical of a professional advertisement environment. Ashley's left hand was hidden from view, and she moved with slow, teasing confidence. It wasn't just some mild flirtation. It was the raw, erotic subtext of two people on the verge of crossing every boundary. My wife was smiling at him like I'd never seen before, so open and eager, as if I'd never existed. I paused the video, my heart pounding a violent rhythm in my ears. This couldn't be some harmless workshop, not with those touches, that heat in her voice. Then it cut abruptly to black, as if the entire video had been forcibly edited. The file ended, leaving me staring at my screen, fists shaking on the desk. I exhaled slowly. My mind reeled. Why would Josh send this to me? How had he found it? Fear spiked. Was Josh in his room right now, crying over the same footage? That thought alone twisted my gut. My boy. Did he suspect? Did he know more than I did? My phone vibrated again. A text from Josh. Mom posted it on a private link, but I guess she forgot to delete it. I found it by accident. Sorry, Dad. I couldn't breathe. I wanted to smash the phone, punch a hole in the wall, do something stupid to alleviate the pressure building behind my eyes. But I forced myself to stay calm. The first wave of rage settled into a cold, methodical sensation. I had the proof. There was no running from it now. That same night, Ashley came home after 10 p.m. She stepped in with a casual, "Hey, sorry I'm late," set her keys on the table, and started shrugging out of her coat. I watched from the couch. My phone lay face down on the coffee table, that devastating video still paused in my messages. She froze when she saw me. "You're still up." I rose to my feet. "Late night at the office." "Yeah," she replied quickly. "Meeting with a client." "What's with the questions?" Her tone was guarded. "Just curious," I said, voice steady. I was proud that I didn't yell, didn't let my voice betray the storm brewing inside. "Ashley, who's the new model you've been working with?" "Tall guy. Brown hair. Tattoo on his arm." "Ring a bell." She blinked, lips parting, then forced a laugh. "Oh, that must be Zach. He's just one of our new faces for the upcoming campaign." "Why?" "Josh sent me a video." I paused. "A video of you and Zach. Alone. In front of a white backdrop." Confusion flickered across her face, then fear. "A video? What are you talking about?" "You posted it, apparently. Maybe a private link, maybe a test reel. Doesn't matter. It's the one where you're basically draped over him, your fingers in his hair." "That's not..." She started, but her voice faltered. She swallowed hard. "It's not what you think. It's a behind-the-scenes snippet from a shoot. David, we were just messing around for the camera. It's advertising." I pressed my fists to my sides. My nails dug into my palms so deeply I expected them to draw blood. I pictured the way she looked at him. "There's no faking that. Not the parted lips, not the glow in her eyes. Did you also moan for the camera? Because it sure sounded genuine to me. She stared at me. Her eyes glistened with either tears or frustration. Yes, it was a little sexual. It's how the brand wanted us to interact, to spark that chemistry. It sells. That's all. Ashley, I said quietly, you're lying. She opened her mouth, then closed it. I can't believe you're turning this into something dirty. I'm telling you the truth. I stepped closer, letting her see the anger in my eyes. Then let's watch it together. Right now. She visibly panicked. No. Why drag our son into this? You want him to see some out-of-context footage. Because I guarantee you, that will scar him more than. Josh has already seen it. I snapped, my voice rising unexpectedly. He's the one who sent it to me. Ashley looked like I'd slapped her. She sank into a chair, face drained of color. He saw it. Her voice was barely above a whisper. I wanted to scream at her. I wanted to throw all the furniture in the room and watch it shatter, but I forced myself to remain still. My breathing turned shallow. Each inhale a desperate attempt to stay calm. She let out a choked sound, like a sob or a gasp, I couldn't tell. She said nothing more, and that told me all I needed to know. I expected that to be the worst moment of my life. But no, she stayed silent for 2 days. No real apology, no explanation, just a sickening tension smoldering in every room of our house. On the 3rd day, I discovered the DNA test. Because once that suspicion slithers into your brain, you start asking yourself impossible questions. Josh, my boy, the one whose birth I'd celebrated with tears of joy, whose first steps I'd cheered, the child for whom I'd read The Little Prince every single night. Could he really be someone else's? I wasn't proud of it, but I snuck a sample of his hair from his pillow, pulled a strand of my own, mailed them off to a private lab. It was insane and humiliating, but once you see betrayal in your spouse's eyes, you can't stop your mind from racing toward every horrible possibility. The result arrived in less than a week. Paternity. 0%. I read those words 3 times. My vision blurred. I felt like the ground was cracking beneath me, crumbling everything I'd ever known. I locked myself in my home office and stared at that single piece of paper until the letters no longer made sense. My son was not my son. Eventually, I went to confront Ashley, not with the intention to break her or degrade her, but because I needed her to acknowledge the weight of what she'd done to me, to Josh, maybe even to this younger man, Zach, who might also be in the dark about everything. She was in our bedroom, seated on the edge of the bed, eyes red from crying. For a moment, I saw fear, regret, sadness, and a part of me wanted to comfort her. But then I remembered that damn video. Her moans, that laughter, the closeness. The paternity test. My jaw clenched tight. I inhaled. There's a 3-step process to killing trust, Ashley. Do you want to hear it? She blinked in confusion, tears streaking her cheeks. What are you talking about? Step 1. Lie to my face. I fixed my eyes on her. You told me I was Josh's father. You made me believe it, for years. She swallowed, hugging her arms around herself. She tried to speak, but I shook my head. Step 2. Find a new man behind my back. I gestured vaguely around the bedroom. And let our son be the one who stumbles on the proof. She looked down, tears dripping onto her hands. David, Step 3. Pretend you're the victim. I whispered, voice taut. Make me doubt my sanity by dismissing everything as out of context. That's how you kill trust. Congratulations, she sobbed, covering her face with trembling hands. For a moment, I wanted her to fight, to defend herself with some logic, to say anything that might make sense of this nightmare. But all I got were muffled cries. Perhaps she knew there was nothing left to defend. Still, the monstrous ache in my chest wouldn't go away. Anger was scorching every nerve in my body, and for a split second, I wanted revenge that was more tangible, more savage. Instead, I stared at her for a moment longer, then turned around and left the room. I did not slam the door. That evening, I packed an overnight bag. My mind was spinning with conflicting thoughts. Should I remain in the house for Josh's sake? But if Josh wasn't mine, that single question made me hate myself. He's an innocent kid. He has no idea how we came to be father and son. I still loved him. The heartbreak was that I suddenly felt unworthy to claim that love. But my hatred, whether for her or for myself, was sharper. I couldn't stay, not now. So I booked a one-night rental apartment. It was cheap and barely furnished. White walls. No pictures, no memories. It was exactly what I needed. An empty space. I brought a small digital camera along. I set it on the table, angled it so it would capture my face against the blank wall. My plan was impulsive. I wanted to speak my truth once, no matter how raw or humiliating it might be. Maybe I'd never show the recording to anyone. Maybe I'd destroy it. But I had to get it out of my system. The camera beeped as I hit record. The little red light glowed. I sat there, chest pounding. My eyes burned, but I wouldn't cry. I refused to look pathetic, even if I was alone. I spoke calmly, quietly. If you're watching this, then you're the next one. My voice trembled, but I forced myself to continue. I don't want you scared. She's beautiful, and her smile is warm, like summer. But be prepared. She'll lie to your face, and then kiss you so sweetly that you'll want to believe every word. That's who she is. I paused, swallowing hard. I'm not blaming her. Maybe I can't. Because love makes us do stupid things, and maybe I let myself get fooled. I'm just done. I left the house. I didn't slam the door or break her heart. I didn't call her every name in the book. I just walked away. I hope you can do that too, someday, if you find yourself where I am now. The hollow walls echoed with my voice. I realized my hands were shaking, so I folded them in my lap. Sometimes men don't need revenge. Sometimes we just open the door and step aside. In the end, we survive. That's the word. Survive. My lips twitched into a bitter smile. So, thank you. Whoever's next, thank you for teaching me that I can live through any betrayal. I'm stronger than I ever knew. I clicked the camera off. The air felt heavy, but also tinged with a strange relief. I'd said my piece, set it free. I didn't feel better, exactly, but I felt calmer. Like I'd come to the end of some dark tunnel, battered and bruised, but alive. I stayed the night in that bare apartment. Didn't sleep much. My mind kept replaying images. Ashley's laughter with that guy. Zach. My son. My boy. Finding that damn link. The piece of paper telling me I wasn't his father. At dawn, I stared at my reflection in the bathroom mirror. My eyes looked sunken, hollow. I barely recognized myself. My reflection. And I had a silent conversation. Who are you now? Are you still a husband? A father? I sure didn't feel like either. But I was alive, and I had decisions to make. In the pit of my stomach, I felt a swirl of dread at the prospect of telling Josh that I wasn't his real dad. That was a conversation from hell. But if Ashley hadn't told me, maybe she also hadn't told him or the real father. As I splashed cold water over my face, I wondered whether Zach was actually the father. He was too young, only 28, and Josh was 9. So the math didn't line up. Ashley must have cheated even earlier with someone else. Another man. My bitterness grew, making me grip the sink until my knuckles turned white. Mid-morning, I got a text from Ashley. David, please come home. We need to talk about Josh. I stared at the screen. A wave of conflicting emotions hit me. Was it selfish to refuse? Was it irresponsible? Josh deserved an explanation. He deserved parents who talked to each other like adults, at least once. So I returned home. I walked in. The place was still and tense, like a museum after hours. Ashley stood in the living room, arms crossed, shoulders trembling. She'd changed into a plain sweater and jeans, face scrubbed free of makeup. She looked like a shadow of the confident woman I'd known. Josh was nowhere to be seen. "He's at a friend's," she murmured. "I didn't want him around for whatever this is." I nodded, stepping further into the room. The air smelled like coffee and stale anger. Her eyes darted to my small duffel bag. I'd brought it with me, half lifting it in an unspoken question. Should I stay? Should I not? She answered by sighing. "Just sit for a second." I settled into the couch. She sank into an armchair across from me, a half-dozen feet of space between us. Might as well have been a mile. She cleared her throat. "David, I owe you the truth. I should have told you years ago, but..." She pressed the heels of her palms into her eyes, as if massaging away a headache. "Back when we were first married, I had an affair. A short one. I was scared. You and I were new, and I felt this stupid panic that I trapped myself. So I cheated. One night, we fought, and I stormed off, spent the night with someone else." She looked down, voice unsteady. "Then a few weeks later, I found out I was pregnant. That was around the time you and I reconciled. You were so happy when I told you. You never questioned. Who was he?" I asked quietly. Her cheeks tightened. "He was an old flame from college, someone I used to date. His name was Mark, not that it matters. We haven't spoken in years. He never knew about Josh. I never told him." I tried to breathe, but the air felt too thick. "So you let me raise him. Let me give him my name, my love, never hinting that he wasn't mine." Her eyes filled with tears. "I had thought if you believed you were his father, you'd both be happy. And you were, David. You were a wonderful father to him." A wave of sorrow and fury welled inside my chest. "You lied to me for nearly a decade. Do you even understand how?" My throat closed up. "I love that boy." She nodded vigorously. "He loves you too. You are his dad in every way that matters." My eyes narrowed. "Not in the one way that apparently does matter." She wiped her eyes. "He doesn't know anything about the affair or the real father. As far as Josh is concerned, you are it." I stared at her, my jaw hurting from how tightly I was clenching it. "Then how do we handle this now?" "Another lie. Just bury the test results." She looked desperate. "I don't want to tear his life apart. Please, if you can't forgive me, I get it. But don't punish Josh for my mistake." I rubbed my face, feeling exhausted. "You do realize he's the one who sent me the video, right? He found out about your fling with Zach. And that's not even the fling that led to him. So how many more illusions can we keep feeding him?" She sobbed, pressing her hands to her mouth. I leaned back on the couch, heart pounding. The tension in the room was thick enough to choke me. A part of me wanted to stand up and comfort her, but a stronger part remembered her betrayals. If she was sorry, was it for me or for herself? In that suffocating silence, footsteps sounded on the porch. The front door creaked open. Josh's voice floated in, high with confusion. "Mom. Dad." Ashley scrambled to her feet, wiping her face. I stood too, turning toward the hallway. My son walked in, backpack slung across his shoulder, eyes flicking between us. Worry etched his brow. He was so small, so vulnerable, and he looked at us like we held all the answers. My throat felt tight. All I wanted was to scoop him up in a hug and promise everything would be okay. But I didn't even know if that was true. Josh set his bag on the floor. "You guys are fighting, aren't you?" Ashley moved first, crossing to him. "Sweetheart, let's get you some lunch, okay?" I saw the video," he blurted. "I'm not a little kid, Mom. I know what cheating means." She stiffened. "Josh." He looked at me, eyes brimming with tears. "Dad, are you staying? Or are you leaving us? Do you even love Mom anymore?" I opened my mouth, but it felt impossible to form words that wouldn't break him. "I love you," I said instead. That's not going to change. He stared at me for a long moment, tears trembling on his lashes. Then he ran upstairs, footsteps pounding. The door to his room slammed shut. An echo of heartbreak reverberated through the house. Ashley looked at me with devastated eyes, and for the briefest second, we had a moment of unity, both wishing this had never happened. But it had, and there was no going back. The next few days blurred into a haze of awkward half-conversations and raw tension. I stayed in the house for Josh's sake, but kept mostly to the guest bedroom. Ashley tiptoed around me, half ashamed, half resentful. We were strangers coexisting in the same space. One night, I heard voices from the kitchen, Ashley's low, urgent tone, and a deeper male voice. My heart lurched. Zach. Had she brought him here? I crept down the stairs, blood roaring in my ears. The door leading to the kitchen was slightly ajar. Light spilled into the hallway. I peered in just in time to see that tall figure looming in front of her. Yes, it was him. Zach O'Connell, the model from the video. He looked even younger in person. Broad shoulders, cocky stance. He had that confident posture of a man who believes the world is his runway. But right now, he seemed agitated, glancing at Ashley like he wanted to either kiss her or strangle her. A swirl of rage pumped through me, but I forced myself not to barge in. I thought you said you'd deal with it. Zach hissed in a low voice. Why the hell is your husband still here? Ashley's eyes flashed. Keep your voice down. It's complicated. He snorted. He knows about us. She crossed her arms. Yes. And now we have to figure out what's next. Her voice grew brittle. This doesn't mean I want a relationship with you. Do you understand that? What we had was a mistake. It was never supposed to get this big. Zach took a step forward, anger flickering in his eyes. You're telling me you just used me for some cheap thrill? Because that's not what you said in the studio. You seemed pretty into it. A strangled laugh escaped Ashley's lips. My marriage was already in trouble. You were there. It happened. I'm sorry if you read into it, but... She hesitated, then lowered her gaze. I regret it. I never should have. Zach cursed under his breath. Unbelievable. So you lie to him. You lie to me. What do you want, Ashley? You want me gone? Or do you want me to fight for you? She bit her lip, tears forming in her eyes again. I don't know, she whispered. I'm so messed up right now. I felt a surge of pity that was drowned by the undeniable urge to punch that arrogant expression off Zach's face, but I held still in the shadows. You can't keep playing the victim, Zach spat, stepping back. You were all over me. This was your choice too. If you're just done, fine, but I'm not going to be your dirty little secret. She closed her eyes, shaking her head. Just go, Zach. Please. He stared at her for a long beat, chest heaving, then spun on his heel and stormed out, nearly colliding with me in the hallway. I stepped backward into the darkness, staying hidden as he stomped toward the front door. The door slammed behind him, rattling the frame. In the kitchen, Ashley leaned on the countertop, silent tears running down her cheeks. I should have confronted her, should have stepped in. But I was too raw. I retreated up the stairs before she could notice me, each step echoing with the words I'd overheard. I spent that night lying awake in the guest bed, mind swirling. Rage flared, then died down into a dull ache. Pity for her, pity for me, pity for a love that once felt unbreakable. We had been naive, I realized. We built our marriage on illusions. Now I felt no passion left, only emptiness. That emptiness was more frightening than the fury. Some nights later, I found myself with a single suitcase packed. The next morning, I intended to leave. Whether I filed for divorce now or later, the reality was that I couldn't stay. Something in me had already broken beyond repair. I no longer wanted to be in this half-life, this strained existence under the same roof. The future with Ashley was unsalvageable, but the future with Josh was complicated. At midnight, A light knock came on my door. I got up and opened it, finding Josh in his pajamas, hair tousled from sleep. My heart clenched. This was the boy I had tucked in for nearly a decade. The boy who'd heard my silly bedtime voices, who clung to my neck whenever he was scared of the dark. He peered past me at the suitcase. "You're really leaving?" he asked, voice trembling. "Do I get to see you still? Or are you leaving for good?" A lump rose in my throat. "Josh, I'm not leaving you. I just can't stay here anymore." I crouched so we were eye to eye. "You and I will always be close if you want. I'll get a place nearby. I'll call you every day. We'll do weekends, anything." His lip quivered. "I'm sorry I sent you that video. I thought you had a right to know." I winced, hugging him gently. "Hey, you did nothing wrong." "Nothing, you hear me?" My voice caught. "I'm proud of you for telling the truth, no matter how painful it is." He buried his face in my shoulder. We sat there for a minute, just breathing. Eventually he whispered, "Dad, am I still your son?" My eyes stung. I tightened my hold on him, forcing back tears. "That's not up to a test or a piece of paper," I said gently. "If you want me as your dad, I'm here. Always." He nodded into my chest, then pulled back. "I want you to be," he said, tears streaking his cheeks. "I don't care about anything else." Everything inside me constricted with a complex mixture of sadness and fierce love. I wasn't his father biologically, but he was my son in every way that mattered. If Ashley had robbed me of that knowledge, ironically, I would still choose to love him. No piece of paper could stop me from that. I brushed his hair back, tried to muster a smile. "Go get some rest, buddy. We'll talk more tomorrow." He nodded, sniffing, then trudged back to his room. I watched him go, my chest heavy with finality. The morning of my departure dawned gray and drizzly. Seattle weather, fitting my mood. Ashley stood by the door, arms crossed over her chest. I noticed how her eyes drifted to the camera bag slung around my shoulder. Maybe she recalled the last time I used that camera, in that empty apartment, filming my raw confession. She never mentioned it, though. Neither of us spoke. I picked up my suitcase and walked to the threshold. The keys to the house rested in my palm, suddenly heavier than iron. Without a word, I set them on the little table near the door. Ashley sucked in a breath. "David, wait. We can figure something out. Therapy or a trial separation. Anything but just leaving like this." I turned, meeting her gaze. "I've done my calculations," I said softly. "Trust doesn't come back. Not after you shattered it in those 3 steps." She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. A tear slipped down her cheek. I felt no triumph at her anguish, only a sad emptiness. The vow we once made, "Till death do us part," was now just another broken promise among many. She tried again. "We don't have to end like this. Don't slam the door on us." I inhaled slowly. "I'm not slamming it," I said, echoing the words from my recorded message. "I'm just letting it close." I stepped outside into the cool air. The hush of the morning pressed around me as I walked to my car. My footsteps felt strangely light, though my heart weighed 1,000 pounds. I slipped behind the wheel, placed my bag on the passenger seat, and closed the door. I didn't bother looking back at the house. There was nothing left to see. As I started the engine, I realized my hands were steady. No more trembling. The numbness was giving way to a sense of resolution. The final stage of betrayal is acceptance. I see you for who you are, and I accept the reality, even if it destroys us. The old David who believed in a perfect family was gone. In his place was someone else, someone battered, but alive. And that new version of me drove away, not in triumph, but in a quiet willingness to face whatever came next. I'd survive, I told myself, repeating the word from my private recording. Survive. I didn't vanish from Josh's life. I rented a small condo across town, near the magazine's offices. The first few weeks were a whirlwind of awkward phone calls with Ashley, negotiations about custody, nights spent missing the boy who'd grown up believing I was his dad. But he insisted he wanted me in his life, and Ashley, for all her faults, didn't stand in the way of that. I realized that in her own twisted way, she did care about him, about us, but it was too late. Meanwhile, I heard rumors about Ashley. She left the advertising firm, perhaps to avoid the scandal or the gossip. Zach apparently moved back to California. No one knew exactly why, maybe to chase bigger gigs in LA. I didn't keep up with them, but I'd occasionally see glimpses on social media. He posted photos on some fancy beach, enjoying his youth, always with a new crowd. She posted less, but once in a while, her face appeared in mutual friends' updates. Pale, forced smiles, empty eyes. Weeks stretched into months. During that time, I learned how to live again. Every so often, I remembered the video, the paternity test. That memory always stung like salt in an open wound. But with each day, the pain ebbed, replaced by acceptance. I recognized that Ashley's betrayals had shaped me in ways I never wanted. Yet I couldn't rewrite the past. All I could do was shape my present. Josh came over on weekends. We ate pizza, played board games, took walks by the waterfront. He stopped asking about that video, or the test. Maybe we had a silent agreement. We would love each other, father and son, and push aside the details that said otherwise. One Saturday evening, as I was cleaning up the dinner dishes, I heard Josh rummaging in my bedroom closet. Before I could scold him for snooping, he emerged with my old camera bag, the same bag I'd used that night in the empty apartment. "Dad, can we look at your pictures?" he asked, eyes bright. I froze, remembering the footage I had stored on that memory card. A single raw confession aimed at the lens. My chest tightened. That recording was never meant for Josh. It was a private purge. But the camera bag was open, and the memory card was still inside. He fiddled with the camera's power button, and the screen lit up. I darted forward. "Hold on, buddy. That's not." But it was too late. He pressed play, and the clip began. My face filled the tiny screen. Grim, pale, lost. "If you're watching this, then you're the next one," I said on camera. "I don't want you scared. She's beautiful, and her smile is warm, like summer. But be prepared. She'll lie to your face." I winced. Josh's eyes widened. I reached for the camera, intending to shut it off, but some part of me froze. This was me, stripped of all pretense, speaking from a place of raw devastation. Maybe it was time for Josh to know exactly how I felt, or had felt, in the aftermath of that betrayal. Maybe it would help him see that grown men also break, that we also heal. Or maybe it was a mistake to let him see my darkest moment. In the end, I gently took the camera from his hand and closed the screen. My heart thundered, breath unsteady. Josh gazed up at me, wide-eyed. I crouched to his level. "That was something I recorded when I was in a very dark place, kiddo. It's not meant for you. It's not really meant for anyone, to be honest." He studied my face. "You were so sad." I let out a shaky sigh. Yeah, I was. But sadness doesn't last forever. Especially when you have something worth fighting for. His lip quivered. "I'm sorry. It's not your fault." I put a hand on his shoulder. "We all make mistakes. Your mom made some big ones. But you and we're gonna be okay." He nodded, blinking away tears. Then he surprised me by lunging forward and throwing his arms around my neck in a tight hug. I held onto him, allowing the tears burning my eyes to remain unshed, at least for now. That night, after Josh fell asleep, I slipped out to my balcony. The Seattle skyline sparkled against the dark sky. The city felt alive, humming with possibilities. I inhaled the crisp air. For the first time in a long while, I felt a flicker of genuine hope in my chest. I took out my phone and scrolled through my contacts. Found Ashley's name. My finger hovered over the screen. Part of me wanted to call her and tell her I finally understood that she was as broken as me, maybe more. We had hurt each other in ways neither of us could fully repair, but speaking again would only stir up that old wound, and perhaps it was best left alone. I switched off my phone, tucked it in my pocket, and leaned on the balcony railing. The city lights glimmered in the distance. I remembered the last line of The Little Prince, something about how the important things are invisible to the eye. Maybe fatherhood was that way, too. Not about biology or blood tests, but love. I smiled bitterly at the memory. I had read that story to a boy who wasn't mine by birth, but who was mine by heart. I exhaled, letting the swirl of regrets drift into the night. No, I didn't know exactly who I was now, but maybe that was all right. Maybe that was how new beginnings worked. You walk away from the ruin of your old life, carrying only the lessons, and the hope that, next time, you'll see the warning signs. I turned and walked back inside, quietly shutting the balcony door. In the living room, a single lamp glowed, reflecting off the blank TV screen. My camera still lay on the table, the memory card tucked safely inside. I reached for it, feeling the weight of that final message I'd recorded. The man on that footage was a different me, desperate, clinging to anger. I thought about deleting it, but my hand hesitated. Maybe that raw confession needed to exist, a reminder of how deeply a man can hurt, a reminder that we can survive. A calm settled over me. The question lingered. Would I ever find closure or love again? No answer came, but maybe that was fine. All that mattered was I'd taken my first step away from betrayal, away from the illusions that nearly crushed me. I could breathe again. In that fragile peace, I almost smiled. I whispered into the silence. We give the path forward. We learn to survive. Then I powered off the camera, took one last look at the dark screen, and set it aside. Tomorrow, I'd start living, day by day, on my own terms. I was no longer a husband, but I was still a father, maybe not by biology, but by choice and by heart. And for now, that was enough.